Okay, so now we come to learning the notes on the fingerboard, and don't be fazed by this because it's one of those things that we do little by little. It's not something that we're going to learn overnight. It's best that we do a little bit at a time, and then that way it will stick a whole lot better. Now, in parts 1 and 2, we covered what the open string names are. We also took a brief look at the musical alphabet and semitones and tones, or half steps and full steps. Now, believe it or not, that equips us with the knowledge to work out what any note is anywhere on the fingerboard. And so you have the tools essentially to be able to do that. But what I'd like to do now is to give you some pointers on how to go about learning the notes on the fingerboard. As I say, it should be a gradual thing, and then that way there's much more chance of it sticking. So, for us to just recap, people tend to have a reasonable knowledge of what the notes are on the E strings, so the 6th and the 1st, just through playing chords, and generally bar chords, because if we play F as a bar chord, or an F sharp, or a G sharp, A, doesn't really matter what the chord is. The first note of the bar chord that we're playing is the root. So in this instance, it's an F. So we know this is an E string. We know there are no sharps and flats between E and F. So we know that this note must be an F. And then we have an F sharp, and a G sharp, and an A, and so on. So people tend to be familiar with the E strings, and it's the same, of course, with the other E string, E, F, F sharp, G sharp, A, and so on and so forth, because of this kind of root note thing. Now, it's the notes in between that people tend to struggle with. Again, people may have some knowledge of the A string, because that has some root notes as well. If we're playing a C chord, the root is on the 5th string, 3rd fret, and that's a C. So we will generally have some knowledge of what the notes on the A string are, although it may be a little bit hazy. Now, there are a few things that we can do to help us identify the notes on the in-between strings, so your B, G, D, and A. And we can do that using octaves. So, for example, let's start on the E string, 1st fret here. We have an F. Now, if we take our ring finger and we play 2 frets up from the F on the D string, okay, then we have an octave. So that's a low F and a higher F. And this applies all the way up, as you would imagine. Okay, we just keep that shape. And we know immediately if we employ that shape, we're going to have the same note as what we have on the 6th string. Okay, so that's an F, that's a G, that's an A. So that helps us, the 6th string helps us identify notes on the 4th string, the D string. And so we can use that going across the strings as well. And we can check as well that we've got that correct. So if you think about it, that's the F, and we're saying that this is an F. Okay, well, we know that this is our D string, the 4th string open. So if we play here, we'll have D sharp, then we'll have an E, and then there are no sharps and flats between E and F, so we have an F. So we can check that that's correct. Now, the same thing applies if we go to the A string, yeah? So let's move it up to the C note, which is the 5th string, 3rd fret. That's a C. And let's do the same again. So we put our ring finger 2 frets up, and we have C and C, low C and a higher C. So again, it's a movable shape. So that's 2 D notes, and then 2 E notes, 2 F notes. So let's take a note now on the D string. Okay, so this is the 3rd fret on the D string, which is an F. Now, if we were to apply the same principle and play the 2 notes up on the B string, we'd have this. Now you can hear that that doesn't sound correct, and that's because of the way the B string is tuned. So what we need to do when we're playing a note, an octave I should say, on the B string and the D string, we need to move up 3 frets instead of 2. And now we have the Fs again. That sounds better, yeah? And again, the shape is movable, so you can move it right up and down the fingerboard. Okay, so we need to remember when we play on the D string and we're looking for the octave on the B string, we move up 3 frets. Now what we're going to try and do is find it on the E string. Okay, so the same principle applies as what we looked at on the B string, okay? We use 3 frets again, just like we did in our last little section, okay? So B flat, and again it's movable, so that's C. So you can see by using octaves, it can kind of quickly give us a reference point if we know one string better than another. However, it is good to have a working knowledge of all the strings, and so this is why some people choose to learn the strings individually, so rather than a block. So let me just kind of briefly talk you through a couple of the ways in which you can go about learning the string names, okay? What I would recommend is, if you're going to go across the strings, is to do a small section at a time. So let me just talk you through that. So on the E string, 6th string, we have E, F, F sharp and G. Then we go down to the next string, A sharp, B, C. Okay, then we go on to the D string, D, D sharp, E, F. Then we're on to the G string, G, G sharp, A sharp. Then we're on to the B string, B, there's no sharps or flats between B and C, C, C sharp, D, and then we're back on another E string, E, F, F sharp, G. So you see, some people will do it that way, just going and make sure that they learn it thoroughly doing it that way. So E, F, F sharp, G, A sharp, B, C, and so on. So that's one way you can do it. And then, although bear in mind that's quite a lot to remember, so you need to just do it a little bit at a time, and then that way it will stick. So it could be that you just learn a little bit of the fingerboard at a time rather than going right the way down. You may just do half of it. So you go E, F, F sharp, G, A sharp, B, C. Yeah, do it kind of a little bit at a time, and then you got D, D sharp, E, F. And then if you can remember that little block, then you've made progress. So the idea is to just do a little bit at a time. Now the other way that we can kind of learn the names of the notes is to do a string at a time. So we can just play E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Okay, and we can break it down that way. So it is very much personal preference. I don't think that one way is better than another. It's very much about what suits you in this situation. So I think you need to explore. You have the tools now to be able to kind of do a little bit at a time. And it's a very, very powerful thing. If you have a knowledge of the fingerboard and all the notes on it, this is going to serve you so, so well in the future with everything that we look at, because this kind of tips and basic theory for the aspiring guitarist is designed to kind of help you gain a better understanding of what you're doing, and also give you the tools to be able to work out practically everything you need to know. So it is certainly in your interest to spend a little bit of time doing these things. I've noticed that generally speaking, it's the kind of songs and things like that which do a lot better than these theoretical videos, because it's kind of instant gratification, whereas this is a little bit more like work. But as I say, I do hope you'll take this advice on board and spend just a little bit of time. It could be 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you won't regret it, because once we start looking at scales and solos and chords and how to build all these things and how to have a better working knowledge of all of these things, you're going to be ahead of the game. So I hope that that helps you guys, and I really look forward to seeing you soon with part 4. So thanks again, and take care.